Watch as mentor and intern plan for math for the coming week. Notice how they focus on student engagement and including literacy.
So next week in math, let's see where we're moving to. We've got our test tomorrow in perimeter and telling time on the clock. So that unit's going to be wrapping up. So our next unit will be understanding the relationship between multiplication and division. We've done a lot of that this year, practicing their multiplication division facts. I feel like we've done a lot of work with multiplication story problems, and a lot of this unit will go into story problems for division is what I would like to do, because I feel like they're strong. Like it says, they have to be able to make the equal groups, the arrays with those story problem types. And I feel like from what we've seen them do in math meeting and on their weekly quizzes that they are getting the multiplication story problems. What do you think?
I think we need to work more on division. We did a problem like that in math meeting today, and some of us still struggle a little bit.
Okay.
So.
All right. So I think that'll probably be our focus. That part of the standard will be our focus next week, the multiplication division, but we'll focus more on the division because I think the students are showing us that they're doing that better. So in going that way, Sarah, I have a few books that we can use for next week. I was thinking maybe our first day. Have you ever heard the book, The Doorbell Ring?
Yeah.
Okay. So I went and we got that out of the library. So I have the large book, I don't have the small ones, so hopefully that will work. But I thought maybe Monday we would read that with the students, and we would give them the counters, and so in their groups they could kind of do what this says. They could, more concrete, move their counters around to divide and make the groups and things like that. So that's what we'll do on Monday. I'm gonna write that down so I don't forget. Does that sound good?
Yeah, and I think it'll be good. It'll be entertaining instead of just giving them more problems. They can listen to a story and then kind of act it out that way with their counters.
And if you want to take the lead on this next week, you can. If you want me to, I know you have a lot coming up with your Ed TPA, but if you would like to take the lead with that, you can. If not, I will. Just up to you. You just have to let me know.
Yeah, I think I can. I'd like to do some stuff. Maybe if we split them up or something and have maybe have two groups some days. Maybe not the first day since it's an introduction, but other days maybe we could kind of co-teach and plan it that way.
Yes, that sounds good. Because I've got, let me get this written down for day one, the doorbell ring division. So I've also got some books. Have you heard of Stuart J. Murphy? Have you ever heard of him?
I've heard of the author, but I've not seen that book before.
Okay. He does a great whole series of books for kids that are tying in math with reading. So I've got 2 copies of this Divide and Ride. So maybe on Tuesday you could have a group, and we could still maybe keep them concrete where they're moving their counters and doing some of that. It's kind of like the doorbell ring where they're going to have to move it around, and they're at this amusement park. And so they're having to divide into equal groups to ride the rides together and stuff like that. Kids think that that's fun. And in this one, they're actually going to have some left over, so it kind of opened the door to talking about room. Yes, yeah, that's not necessarily our skill, but we can kind of show that in more of a concrete way. So I think maybe we could just divide the kids on Tuesday, and then after that, you and I think, should get together and talk about who in our group, through formative assessment, do we think is really getting this and ready to move on to more of a pictorial representation on Wednesday, and then the ones that still need to stay concrete, and then maybe on Wednesday we'll divide the groups like that. We'll have a group that's ready to move on to some pictorial and maybe making up some story problems and stuff like that, and then the group that needs to stay in the concrete we can do.
Still use manipulation.
Yeah.
And maybe even when we could do that, we can let them use counters and then draw their counters. And that way kind of transition from using the manipulatives to drawing it out.
Okay.
For those that are ready.
I think that sounds good. And since we'll have them in 2 small groups, I think we'll be able to notice that better. So I'm going to write that down for Wednesday. Tuesday. And I'll put on here, we're going to move in concrete to pictorial.
When you usually teach like division story problems in the relationship, do you usually like involve the other like representations of multiplication, like the equal groups? Is that how you usually represent the problems?
It
Arrays
is.
and stuff like that?
Yes, yeah. The kids are very comfortable with equal groups and arrays at this point. So I don't necessarily call it that when we start, but then when they look at it, we'll say that's a good time to bring in like, oh, what does this look like? And see if they can make the transition to the relationship between because that's what this unit is about, understanding the relationship. So that will be a good time to say to them, what does this look like that we've seen before? They see it more with equal groups, and I don't know if it's because the stories lend themselves to equal groups when they do. Some of them really like to use arrays. So some of them may build their arrays with their counters. So it'll be kind of interesting to see what they do. But yeah, that's a great thought. So we'll do that on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, have you ever seen anything grand or great with division that you think we should try, or you want me to give it a shot or give it a go? Or
Yeah, I'm open to whatever.
Okay. Well, if you see anything, since you know this is the unit that we're on, please feel free to dive in and say, we should totally do this, we'll try this. So I'm going to put on Wednesday that we'll probably go back to these books again, since the kids will hopefully be comfortable with them, and use it to maybe move them on to the pictorial, move everyone on. I know we talked on Tuesday we would move some of them, but we'll try to.
Right.
And then that Wednesday, that's when we'll divide our groups too, where we can say these kids are not ready to leave the manipulative.
Pardon the interruption. There'll be a brief meeting this afternoon, and if you cannot make it now, it will be also tomorrow on Friday for all of those faculty and staff involved in the Leaps and Bounds project. Thank you.
So on Wednesday, we'll try to move all of them, but one of us can move the group on, and then the other one can sort of take the group that still needs to be in concrete, maybe even do some simpler numbers, like 6.
Right.
Divide these 6 candies and 2 friends or something like that. So we'll do on Wednesday, we'll group them with the pictorial group that's ready to move on.
And those that still need the concrete assistance.
Yes. And then I think on Thursday, we may work it backwards. Maybe we'll give them some numbers and see if they can come up with a story problem. Like, you have 12 candies.
Right.
See if you can come up with the division story problem and then have them represent it pictorially. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that'll be good.
And then we can talk again on Wednesday after we work with our groups and say, these kids are not ready for that, and we can maybe again group them with a concrete group, try some different strategy with them. Okay. So Thursday we'll try to move into having the kids come up with the story problems. Yeah. And I think what you said earlier is going to be important for this is, like you said, tying it back into their multiplication. How when they divide it out there concretely or pictorially, they see that, oh, that's multiplication.
Right.
I mean, we do the fact families, the equations, but I think this will be a good time to have they've just kind of been learning their facts. They don't really get what's going on.
Right.
So hopefully this unit will help us get there. So.
And then maybe after they write their story problems, we can use them in math meeting like we did
Oh yeah,
when,
that's a good idea.
when we did multiplication.
Oh, and they love that.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. We'll use their story problems in math meeting. Okay, I have to write that down or I'll forget. All right, what about stations next week? Have you noticed anything as we've been working with the kids this week that we need to do some extra practice in stations for next week?
Well, I know that when I was working with Seth today, he was, with his homework, he was really struggling with just the place value that we talked about at the beginning of the school year. He was having difficulty understanding that like 700s and 5 10s and 2 1s was 752. He was just putting the numbers in random order. He couldn't connect what the value of those numbers were.
Okay.
If they were written out like that. So maybe we could involve something like that.
Yeah, we
have
have
those, or maybe even just pull him from his station, work with him in a smaller group. Or
Okay,
something.
that's a good idea. One of us will work with him. Well, let me write that down so I don't forget. Now, also in stations, you're about to do your unit on fractions.
Yes.
So, do you think maybe we should have a station where we're reviewing the fractions? Because the other unit we did on fractions was just representing the fraction as a part of a whole and as a part of a set.
Right.
So we may just do some review with that next week to help them be ready for your unit the following week.
Yeah, I think that would be good, especially since it's been several weeks since that unit. That way they could
that unit was
remember that before we move on to equivalent and comparing.
Okay. All right, so let's do a fractions station next week. I think I might have them do just review a station we've done before with fractions, where they just roll the dice and then you generate a numerator and denominator, and then you have to represent it as a set and as part of a whole. Or if you want them to do something else, if you think it'd be helpful for your
and maybe they could I think those are good, and maybe even put it on a number line.
Oh, yeah.
That way, have the area model and then the set model, and then we could include like the length model. That way they'll be prepared for that when we move on.
I'm glad you said that, because I certainly need to include that one, and I forgot. Thank you. That's why I have your young brain. Keep me in line. All right. Okay. How do you think they're doing on their elapsed time?
I think they're doing okay. I think some of them are still
Needing
struggling
some
with it.
practice.
Those that can do it seem to really,
know,
they really
they've
get it and
got
can do
it.
anything with it, while other ones can't do the simpler problems even sometimes.
So maybe we should have a station to practice that some more next
I
week,
think
you
so.
think? Okay. Put that down for one of our stations. All right, and then our independent station over there. I'll probably put, this week it was more with the time, since we're having our test tomorrow. I might see how they do tomorrow on that test before I decide what we put in that station. Okay. All right, so social studies next week. We'll still be doing the government, the branches of government, and the history of our government and things like that. So, is there anything on that you think you ever seen anything cool you think we should try?
Well, I've seen where people have done like virtual field trips, and we talked about the Constitution today, and how you visited and saw it in Washington, D.C. So maybe we could have a virtual field trip, and we could find some websites, and then that way they could see it, since we talked about that today.
Do you maybe want to look for some of those this
I
weekend
can do that.
and see if you can find some? That's a great idea because I don't know how many of our kids will
And that way they can see it.
ever get to go see it for real.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, that's a great idea. Okay. So, and we'll have to finish our book. So that'll probably take up most of our time for social studies next week for the Constitution book, and then they'll love the virtual field trips. That's a great idea. They're enjoying this though, aren't they?
Yeah, they really get into it. Some of them really like it.
Okay.
Listen as the teachers restructure their instructional groups.
So now we were talking earlier, we've had like 4 students move out of that second class. So I think we're going to need to regroup them.
Yes.
Because the groups are not.
Very uneven now.
Yes, they
Some
are.
have about 4 and some have 2. And
Yes. And the 2 that are left need a lot of help. So let's look at that. I'll look at their scores and their data. Do you want to maybe write
yeah, sure, I'll write down the groups.
Okay. Alrighty, there it is. All right, so last time we did this, or usually when we do this, we just kind of group them based on their score. We try to group them because this is who they work with in stations and things like that, so that there's kind of like everybody has a role. You know what? I didn't want to do. I think this is every kid in 3rd grade. Okay, hang on. Let me switch to just our class. We don't want all the kids in 3rd grade. Okay. Okay, so we'll have. We have 15 kids. We're math people. We should be able to do this. So that'll be 4 groups of 4, right?
And, 3 groups of 4 and 1 group of 3.
3 groups of 4 and 1 group of 3. Okay, all right. So let's make sure we put Alejandro in a group of 4 since he's not always
he's
with
not always
us.
here.
Yeah, because his group will be a group of 3 sometimes. All right, so Caroline has the top score, so put her in a group.
Okay.
We'll just kind of divide them out by their scores. Emily will be a separate group.
Yeah, we want to split these, right? Like,
Yeah, we'll kind
make them
of.
heterogeneous
Yes.
viability.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
try to,
And then we'll look and make sure we don't have all girls together
Right.
or all boys or something. Griffin,
okay.
Miranda. Is that 4 groups? Okay, so now start. There's one of our friends that's moving. Okay, Avery.
Okay. Let's see. Put her in Griffin's group. What do you think?
That sounds good, yeah. Xander.
What if we put him with Miranda?
Yeah.
Maybe.
J-Ron.
I can put him in Caroline's group.
Yeah, that'd be good. Ruthie.
Do you think she would work well with Emily?
Yeah.
With Emily? Okay. Maybe Emily could
That's
help
a
her
good-
sometimes.
Yes.
I think they work together pretty well.
I think they do too. Chelsea.
Chelsea, let's see. Has she been with Caroline and J-Ron?
No.
No? Okay. I'll put her
That's
there.
2 girls and there and a boy, right?
Yes.
Okay. Alan is our next one.
Alan. What about with Emily and Ruthie?
Yeah, that gives them a boy. Alejandro.
Should we wait and just put him, make sure
Well,
that,
let's make sure. Yeah, write his name down so I
Okay.
can forget him. Ellie.
we can either put her with Miranda and Xander or Griffin and Avery. Seems like they've been with the same people a lot.
I know.
Trying to split up. And then there's Caroline, Jaron, and Chelsea. I could move Chelsea out and put Ellie there with Caroline and Jaron.
Who's with Miranda? Ellie, Miranda, and
Xander.
put her with that group.
Okay.
She's not been with, I think. Vicente.
Vicente. Did we put him with Alan? Or no, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, he and Griffin have been working
Yeah.
really well together.
I agree.
So put
That's a good
him
idea.
with Griffin. Griffin's
Yeah,
really
let's do that.
been trying to help him.
Mhm.
He's been really kind. Emerson.
Emerson. What about in the group with Jaron and Chelsea and Caroline? That way those two boys can work together.
That gives you two boys. Kimberly.
Kimberly. We have the Griffin Avery Vicente group.
Okay.
And then that's another girl for Avery. And then the other groups are Emerson, Caroline, Jaron, and Chelsea. That's a group. Emily, Ruthie, and Alan. Miranda, Xander, and Ellie.
Put her with Avery's group. Avery works well with her.
Mhm.
She's not always easy to work with, and Avery works well. Okay, now put Alejandro in a group. Is that everybody?
Yep, that is 3 groups of 4 and a group of 3. That's 15. And then what about the seating? Are we just going to keep that the same or change that too?
What do you think?
Are they evenly split? Like, are there 3 at each group right now?
Yeah, but you know what? They could sit with that group.
Mm-hmm.
That could just be their group for everything.
Mhm.
Well, not everything,
Right.
but their group for stations and who they sit with in class.
And we would just have to make, because we've got 5 groups, seating groups.
Or we just leave one empty.
Just leave one empty?
What do you think?
Okay.
Just leave one empty. That way they've
They can
got.
all stay together.
Yeah. What do you think?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right, we'll have to let them know tomorrow.
Yes.
Well, maybe we'll start it Monday when you're back.